What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 38 of the Hoop Venue podcast. My name is Tyler, and as always, I'm joined by my great friend Sean. At the time we're recording this, we are just a few moments away from Game 2 of Bucks-Pacers, and then Game 2 of Lakers-Wolves after that. What's the other game tonight? I know there's Bucks-Pacers, and Sean has just lost light. I don't know what's going on over there. Bucks-Pacers, Lakers-Wolves. What's the game in between?
OKC, Memphis.
Is it OKC? I couldn't remember, somewhat of a forgettable series. But yeah, we'll get into that in a sec. But I just wanted to make that known because we're going to talk about like teams that are playing tonight. And there's a chance by the time you're listening to this, because we're going to upload this tomorrow morning, we're just not cooking at all. Like we're just completely missing a lot of things. So I just want to warn you in advance that we are talking about teams before they've played their second game, and then when this is uploaded they will have played their second game. So if we just missed something completely off the mark, I apologize in advance. But yeah, let's go Thunder Grizzlies, because I think that's one we can get through pretty quick. Someone asked in my YouTube comments, they were like, what are your thoughts on Thunder Grizzlies game 1? And I was like, an all-time great defensive unit just made a statement, and anyone who was thinking the Thunder were going to be some like weird like frauds, like, because that was kind of a talking point, just rude awakening. That's kind of just was my takeaway.
Yeah, anybody that like thought this series was going to be close, yeah. And I think I tried to make the argument that Memphis could potentially steal a game, but then when I made my like official predictions on Twitter, I like just said no, OKC like it's just going to sweep the series. And, maybe Memphis can still steal one, but they're just – I forget who it was, but it was somebody that I do respect made the great point. They were like, this is one of the most miserable teams to ever play against, like, when they're full strength. It might have been Carson. Okay.
It was.
One of the most miserable teams to play when they're at full strength and when they're rolling. And I completely agree, because you're just dealing with 5 elite switchable defenders, 5 guys that are insanely athletic, and then you have the rim protection, you have the POA defense with 2 of the like 3 better point of attack guys in the entire league in AC and Lou Dort. The defensive playmaking, the versatility, specifically in like J-Dub, who honestly has a case of being one of the, if not the most switchable defender in the versatile defender, in the entire league. Like, for crying out loud, they literally put him at the 5 and said, all right, we'll be all right. And they were more than all right with J-Dub at the 5 this season when they were down iHeart and Chet. And they lost they beat Memphis by a gazillion points. And Shea had, like, one of his worst, like, scoring performances in a few months. So, if not the actually lowest scoring output of the entire season, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, that series is a wash. It's just a dominant performance.
Yeah, I had a tweet during the game, and it was Shea is 1 for 6, and the Thunder are up by 29 points. Shea ended with 15 points, right? It was like 15 points on, I don't even know what he shot. It might have been like 4 of 10 or 4 of 11 or something. And they won by 51 points. They had, I think it was the biggest game 1 win in NBA history. Yeah, just like you said, a completely dominant performance on both ends of the floor. Like, you get crazy bench contribution from Aaron Wiggins. Case and Wallace, what was absolutely phenomenal. Lou Dort was everywhere on defense. Chet was cooking on offense. He had didn't Chet have 20 and 10 or something like that? It was so calm.
He had 19 and 12, I think.
Yeah, I wasn't even paying attention to individual player performances because it was just a complete top to bottom dominant. iHeart was probably the best player on the court in that game. Yeah, it was just a complete top to bottom dominant performance. And I actually had the Grizzlies stealing a game. I went in my final prediction. I went OKC in 5, but they just got the Mike Tyson knockout punch in 10 minutes into the series. Not even just game 1, the first stretch of game 1. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if you can steal. Imagine your confidence level after that. What do you do? What is the locker room like if you're going in tonight going into game 2? What are you doing in the locker? What are you saying in the locker room to recover from that?
Well, lucky for me, I've never had to respond to being beaten by almost 60. man, like, yeah, what do you say? I will say this. Ja, I thought, had the right approach and the right answer post-game. I kind of liked his answer. His response was basically, if we win game 2, then none of this even matters, which you lost by 60. But, like, that's like, probably the correct answer to go with. I mean, better yet, like, I think the more important question is, like, well, what's the locker room conversation at halftime? Or, like, after the game?
Yeah, or, like, what do you... Like, if you lose by 51 points, does the coach... There's probably a coaches meeting at some point. Are you like, all right, what adjustments can we make? Like, is there an adjustment? Like, I just feel like they just got punched in the face, and it was like, oh, we're just simply nowhere near as good as this other team.
Yeah.
Like, their bench could probably beat our starting lineup.
Their bench almost did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Memphis, I expect game 2 to be a lot more competitive. The bar is set literally at its floor. But, yeah, why is my light...
This man is just struggling with lighting over there.
Oh my god! Wants me to be in the dark. I had a joke that would be what the.
This is just every episode we got something new. We got something new going on every episode. Just
I think my roommate's here. He also has a ring light, and it tries to like mess with the light with the remotes or whatever. Like tries to sync.
Oh, like the sensor. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I'm gonna assume it's that. Okay. Otherwise,
what if there's just like some divine intervention going on, like telling us to stop talking about, like maybe there's a Grizzlies fan that's telling us to stop talking about this series.
Stop talking about the Grizzlies. What are you doing?
Speaking of which, though, so the Thunder are going to play the winner of Clippers Nuggets, so we can shift gears into probably the best series so far, I would say. The first game, you get this like absolutely chaotic Russell Westbrook stretch to end the game, where he hits a three, and then.
Did you see the tweet about how Russell Westbrook is like if you play Mario Kart,
a mystery item box? He's an item box. Yeah, I mean that stretch was crazy. He hits a corner three, and then like has that weird possession where he jumps in midair and doesn't know what to do with the ball and kind of just like throws it off of a defender. But yeah, that was a game where this series has kind of shocked me. Because I went into it thinking it was going to be like no team has an answer for each other, high scoring, like just like surgical offensive execution. And it's been pretty much the opposite. Like both teams have really struggled to find their footing offensively. Both teams are deploying like these really interesting and aggressive defensive strategies to limit the other team. And then Kawhi Leonard happens and just has like one of if not the greatest shot making game I've ever seen in my life. 39 points on, I believe it was 15 of 19 shooting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so how are you feeling about the series right now? 1-1 headed back to LA.
I mean, initial reactions could be please get 7 games. I was talking to a buddy like, while the game was going on before Kawhi just like put the game away in the fourth. And by the way, that was kind of an uncharacteristic fourth quarter from Denver, whose superpower is pristine execution at all times, especially when it matters most. That was kind of uncharacteristic from Denver down the stretch. I made the statement to a buddy of mine. I was like, look, if Denver gets out of this series, then I'm scared. I'm officially kind of scared of Denver if they make it out. I still don't think they beat OKC. I don't think either one of these teams beat OKC. I still kind of feel that way. But Denver making it out would be like, oh, okay, they're back. And, like, they're good. The Malone thing, we can kind of, call it a wash for now and what have you. What do you do with Kawhi, honestly, if you're Denver? Like, do you just – the thing – I almost, like, want to say you just aggressively, like, double and get the ball out of his hands a little bit earlier. Like, I felt like too many times – I made a tweet about it, like, down the stretch in that game. Too many times they were just saying, all right, Aaron Gordon, here, just – be trusted to guard Kawhi Leonard one-on-one, and when he's having one of these bizarre, I can't even say like bizarre playoff performances, because Kawhi's legitimately an elite playoff performer. And another tweet that I'm going to bring up is another great point where a lot of times, I think this was Mars actually, so shout out to 2 people we have collabed with, or you collabed with Carson, and we obviously both did stuff with Mars. Like, too many times when a player gets hurt, we tend to like purposefully forget or just ignore what they are when they are healthy. Like, I put a tweet out the other day genuinely asking, like, what do we do with Embiid? Like, from a player ranking standpoint. Because when Embiid's healthy, and yes, like, it sucks doing the hypothetical thing. Yes, it's annoying. But 2024, 2023, Joel Embiid is that not legitimately, like, one of the 4 best players in the entire sport? And
pretty easily.
Pretty easily. Or Kawhi, when healthy, is he pretty easily, like, I think at this point I would probably have him 5th, I think.
It's weird. It's weird because I think Kawhi's a really interesting where, like, it depends how you frame the ranking of players. So when I did my player rankings last season,
is this where you got cooked?
I got cooked for having Kawhi 6th. I had Kawhi 6th and I got cooked. But my philosophy was going into a 20 whatever game playoff run, which players do I believe give me the best shot at winning a championship? And I think if you frame it like that, it'd be hard to get like 5 or 6 guys above Kawhi. Even now, like, he doesn't get to the line as much. He doesn't get to the rim as much. But between the shot making, the surgical, like, I'm going to get to my spot every time, and then everything he's doing defensively, like, he's been elite defensively through 2 games, on and off the ball. But it depends on how you frame it, because if I tell you this, so I know you had a poll on Twitter that we were just talking about off the show, where you said, who do you... I don't remember exactly what the question was,
but it was like Tatum or healthy Kawhi. I didn't ask the question. I just put
as a player. So, and that's where it's interesting how you frame it, because it's like, if I'm just starting with a clean slate in the playoffs, both guys are healthy, like, maybe Kawhi, I still think it's kind of like fit up in the air. I want to see more from Kawhi. I want to see him sustain this. But like, I could see the argument going either way. But now let's reframe the question and say, okay, it's October. Who would I rather have to build my team around? And Kawhi's probably not even like top 25 at that point, because the only reason we're seeing this right now is because the Clippers had a good enough team to get to this point. Like, Harden, Powell, Zoo, Derrick Jones Jr., Chris Dunn, everything they did start to finish this season put them in this position to unleash Kawhi like a military grade weapon or something.
They were good enough to be able to get to February with a decent enough record for Kawhi to get back and start to ramp up. And then the last month of the season into the playoffs, we've been able to see Kawhi just be a top 10 player.
Right, and I think that's the difference with like a guy like Joel Embiid, where when he was playing in 2024, they had a better record than the Celtics. They were on pace to win like 66 games. And then the moment he goes out, this team just collapses. They play like a 20-something win team. And then you rush Embiid back, and then you get into the playoffs where he can only open one eye. He has one knee. And it's like, that's just not a fair way of framing it. Like, I think about it like this, like, what if, and I hate doing the what if thing as well, because it's just kind of like, but for example, what if Jalen Brunson and Kawhi switched places, and you basically have a Knicks offense where they need Kawhi to like do a ton of heavy lifting all 82 games?
Yeah.
And it's like, now how do you incorporate that into player rankings? Like, I almost view it, because like I said, my philosophy is going into the playoffs, who gives me the best shot to win a championship, and then I almost use like the regular season thing as like a hair splitter.
A tiebreaker, yeah.
Right, where it's like, if I think him and Tatum are in the same tier, look, Tatum's giving me 82 games. Give me that guy. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like getting back to just like specifically, what do you do with Kawhi in this series? Because it's established that as an isolation scorer, there's nothing you can do to stop him from absolutely burning you. Like, this guy's just an absolute freak. And I think they actually had a lot of success in game 1, just hard trapping him. Yeah. He had like 7 turnovers, I believe, and he only got 15 shots up. And I think that's ideal, because yes, he only got 19 shots up in this game, but it was a different 19 shots. It was in the flow of the offense. It was, I see single coverage, I'm going to get my 8 dribbles down and get to where I want to go to the elbow and rise up for a mid-range jumper. And yes, like unconscious shot making. But it came a lot easier. And I think one problem that the Nuggets ran into in game 2 specifically is whenever they did trap Kawhi, they allowed the pass to Zubats. You can't do that. Like, if you're going to trap Kawhi, Zubats cannot be the guy that gets the ball with an advantage because now it's like either I'm posting up a mismatch or I'm kicking it to Chris Dunn who's diving from the baseline, or I'm kicking it out to Powell or Bogdanovich or whoever's over there. There was one play where Harden had a flyby, 2 defenders flew past him, and then he gets a wide open 3. Like I think it's everything going on in their rotations that is the problem. Like I think you do kind of have to trap Kawhi because they don't have anyone. Like shout out Aaron Gordon, they don't have anyone who can stop the guy or even slow him down at all. Like he's gonna just burn you every possession he's left in single coverage. And I actually think they missed an opportunity on that last possession, that long 2 to put them up 3. That should have been a trap. You cannot let Kawhi just walk into a shot there. That was very poor defensive execution in my opinion. So yeah, I think you got to trap him, and you cannot let that pass get to Zubats. Make someone on the perimeter make a play against a closeout or a shift or something like that. But
Chris Dunn make a play against a closeout.
Right, and it's like Chris Dunn's a good decision maker, a good playmaker, but that's a lot different type of animal to deal with than, okay, Zubats is rolling into Jamal Murray.
Yeah, it's just a different decision for Jamal to make, because then when we've talked about this, Zoo's growth as a legitimate mismatch hunter, as being able to like play that 2-on-1 game on the second side so perfectly, and that's why I think and Denver I think has done some things really nicely defensively. But I do think though that at least throughout this game, I thought the Clippers started to find some semblance of success with their like ball screen stuff with Harden and Zoo. Really Harden and Zoo, and be able to hit the skip passes, to be able to find Zoo. There was one pass, I want to say, in the first quarter where Harden almost plays the corner skip perfectly, and then Russ is still there as the low man, and he's all the way over. Might have been second quarter. But Zoo's just able to, like, no, I'm 7 foot here, and I'm just going to be able to finish at the rim. Like, to your point, they got to stop giving Zoo those passes in the short roll. Kawhi has 7 turnovers in game 1. And he still overperformed his shot quality in game 1. He had 1 turnover, 5 assists in game 2. His estimated like points per shot attempt per synergy was 0.91. His actual points per shot attempt was 1.79. So literally talking about like one of the greatest shot making performances ever. His shot quality was better in game 1.
Yeah, that's insane. Well, yeah, like that halftime. The halftime buzzer beater. That was like one of the craziest shots I've ever seen. Like, what was that? And actually, like, I do want to make a point though. Like, while we're talking about the Clippers' offense and their execution, like, outside of the first quarter of game 1, I've felt good about Denver's defense as a whole for the most part. There have been some questionable like missed rotations. I think Westbrook's been really good as the low man, just kind of being chaotic. But I want to credit Jokic, too, because Jokic is, like, positioning at the level, plugging the gaps. Like...
Jokic propaganda, not here for it.
No, like... And I made a tweet last night where I was like, are we allowed to acknowledge Jokic's defense? And then people thought I was being negative. They were like, nope, we're not allowed to acknowledge it because all we care about is points, rebounds, and assists. And I'm like, are you watching the game? He's been fine. Like I know he's not out there like a defensive player of the year, but in terms of positioning, plugging the gaps, making Harden turn the ball over, taking away Kawhi's driving lanes, not letting Zoo catch the ball in the post, like, he's been perfectly fine outside of that 1 quarter, in my opinion. And actually, he's been decent enough at the level and things like that the Clippers have, in my opinion, looked... I guess it's not really opinion. There's probably numbers that track this, but from my eye, from what I've seen, it seems like the Clippers offense through Harden is running more through, I'm going to get a ball screen from a wing or a guard, and then I'm going to play one-on-one against a mismatch, as opposed to I'm going to put Jokic in the screen and roll every single time and try and get an advantage going downhill. And Harden's been phenomenal. Harden's been absolutely phenomenal in those isolation possessions, just like taking what the defense gives him. He's shooting 40% from 3 through 2 games, I think. And, of course, most of those are off the dribble isolation attempts. Yeah, I think the Clippers...
If we go back to game 1, like and sorry to cut you off, in overtime, like, Jokic got a key deflection when they're up through like 2 minutes left in overtime against double drag. One thing that I think is interesting, and maybe like excuse my ignorance or whatever, Denver is like completely loading over. Like when the Clippers go to their empty side like ball screens with Harden and Zoo, like one possession in particular where Harden turns it over because MPJ like he gets a deflection or a steal off of just being active, chasing Harden. Christian Brown's guarding, I think it's Bogey, opposite wing, and he's like all the way over at the nail.
Yeah.
Like, we are going to like crowd your space, and we're gonna help Jokic at the level, and we're gonna pre-rotate over. Pan Watson had a steal pretty similarly, where Russ was the low man. We got the ball into the short roll, and Pan Watson dives down and gets a steal. To your point, I do think that Denver has been more active away from the ball. And it's just some of the tightening up consistently, specifically in terms of how we're guarding Harden, like the consistency in terms of like not allowing the 2-on-1 advantage with Zoo in the short roll. Like in that possession with Payne Watson, I'm pretty sure that wasn't Zoo. I can fact check, but yeah, it's been a fun series. Another
thing, I'm not sure if you noticed, but the Clippers tweaked their rotation in game 2, and they pulled Zoo really early in the first quarter, went small with Simmons at the 5, and it kind of seemed like, okay, this is weird. Like, why would you do that if Jokic is still in the game? And then they had Zoo come in against the bench lineup, and then it was like, oh, now this is a real problem because now we have Zoo against the lineup with no centers. And the non-Jokic minutes are already bad. Like, I'm pretty sure through 2 games. Yeah, let me fact check. I got the numbers right here. Yeah, through 2 games, Jokic has a plus 50 on off. And obviously that's like sample size. That's like just this absurd.
I was going to say, that sounds about right.
Sample size issue, but the team collapses when Jokic goes to the bench. So I almost wonder if the Clippers are trying to do this thing where they're like, okay, maybe we like stalemate the Jokic minutes, but if we just go on these like 8, 9, 10-point runs every time he goes to the bench, now we just are playing with a constant advantage. And then you get this weird thing where Jokic has to play so many minutes. Like, Jokic through 2 games is playing 44.5 minutes a game. And a lot of people are saying, well, Jokic is making uncharacteristic errors. Like, he's missing free throws. He's turning the ball over. That tends to happen when you play 45 minutes because you're just gassed by the end of the game. And I don't think that's like a fluke. Like, some people have been saying Jokic doesn't look right since the Malone firing, and a lot of other theories. Maybe he just had a bad game. My takeaway is like, Jokic playing 45 minutes, you're just gonna see more errors. That's just kind of how it goes. The only player I've ever seen ramp up to like 47 minutes in the playoffs and not make errors is LeBron, and that guy's like the biggest freak of nature sports has ever seen.
LeBron propaganda, I'm here for it.
Like 2018 LeBron playing 48 minutes in a game and stuff. Like, that's the only player I can think of that you don't get all these errors when they start playing the entire game. And so the Clippers are just putting the Nuggets in a really awkward spot where you need something to get either happen in the non-Jokic minutes, or you just end up with probably a lesser version of Jokic for decent stretches of the game.
Yeah. I do think, like, for example, the Clippers have gotten away with some of the blind steals on post-ups. Like, Chris Dunn had one in the second quarter. Chris Dunn's a hooper. I wanted, selfishly, I wanted Chris Dunn pretty badly for the Lakers. What do you think is the biggest adjustment for either team going into Game 3?
I think it's on the Nuggets to adjust. I think the Clippers are kind of like set in stone with what they're going to do for now. Also, I want to mention, like, I had a tweet about this, but Ben Simmons has looked really good on defense with like the hedging and stuff. His speed and his size is still a really big factor, and then playing with pace, he had a really good finish out of the short roll that was like aggressive. Ben Simmons looks pretty good, so shout out to Ben Simmons. I think adjustment wise, maybe this is like a cop out, and this isn't really an adjustment, but I'm kind of worried on both sides about the fact that there hasn't been a Norman Powell stretch yet, or even like just any Norman Powell moments, because it's like on the Clipper side, I'm worried like, okay, was the beginning of the season kind of like I'm overtasked, I'm going to overperform, because he hasn't kind of looked like that all-star caliber player for a few months now? Or is it the Nuggets, because he took 5 shots in the first 4 minutes of last game and started 0 for 5, but it was all really clean looks. It was like open 3, open floater, reverse layup 5 times. And I was like, okay, if Norman Powell just gets back to what he was doing at the beginning of the season, now the Nuggets defensive game plan kind of crumbles, because they, like you said, they were really shading over, like plugging the gaps, coming over to the nail. And if you're doing that against a Norman Powell that's capable of giving you 50, 40, 90, that's a problem. That's
Yeah.
that's a really big problem. So I would say that's kind of what I'm just keeping my eye on. I don't know about like adjustment-wise game plan, but I'm waiting to see what happens with Norman Powell. Because if he just starts exploding for these efficient 20 balls, I don't know what Denver does defensively.
I think Denver offensively, even like I'm curious to see what the like play type data is, really fast for Denver.
I know they've been doing a lot of like inverted pick and roll with Jokic.
Yeah,
Bringing him
and
off.
we
of
talked about that.
We did. We said less
preview.
post ups. They're going to use him like a guard and a wing to put Zubats in action, and he hasn't really looked to be aggressive as a scorer. Which I wonder if some of that is Zubats. Like, is that just like, is Zubats really holding his own to where Jokic doesn't want to look to score as much? And then, of course, Jokic is still going to get his 20, 30 because, I mean, he's been burning them from three. He's going to get his, like, float game off. He's going to get those pick and roll opportunities. He's going to get on the offensive glass, things like that. But there haven't been many of those possessions dead. Let's dump it into Jokic. I'm going to walk my man down. That hasn't really happened yet.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was going to bring up the point that I do feel like there were, on some of these turnovers for sure, where Jokic is pressing to, like, hit the dump off. And I do think the Clippers, like the dump off, like, little baseline cut underneath the basket, which is seemingly, like, synonymous with Aaron Gordon. Christian Brown's also become really, really good at those two with Jokic, where I think the Clippers have done a really good job kind of preparing for that. And even like the last possession, I want to say it's the last possession where they're down three, Jokic gets the turnover. Jokic is trying to hit the dump, the pass underneath, if I recall correctly. And then that's how he just winds up throwing the ball anywhere aimlessly, and Kawhi gets the steal. Like, I do kind of wonder if we see a more aggressive score, specifically out of the post in Jokic in Game 3, because throughout the series, Jokic is a 0.882 points per possession post-up performer, 17% turnover rate out of post-ups. The like efficiency is fine, like 55% efficiency on post-up attempts. But if we're going him in isolation or him out of post-up or whatever, this is like a very underwhelming, and underwhelming for Jokic terms is
Right.
better than a lot of people. But still, like, it's an under. I think the Clippers are doing their job to kind of your point, even where really if you're the Clippers, it's like, all right, Norman Powell, like, you want to join Harden, Zoo, and Kawhi at some point.
Yeah.
Because then you do that, then it's I think we both had Clippers in 6. I think
We did.
And Zoo, I think, is honestly just kind of reinforcing if he's the best one-on-one not Luka, good God, Jokic option in the league. Because, I mean, by the way, we're saying this, and Jokic is still averaging 28, 10, and 11 on 58% true shooting. So we're talking like league average efficiency still.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, and that's kind of what's funny, because it's like Jokic is, like you said, 28, 10, and 11, and you look at that and you're like, okay, this guy's playing damn near perfect, but you got to keep in mind the standard Jokic has set for himself in previous postseasons, where it's like, keep in mind he's also playing 45 minutes a game, so the box scores, like, from a per possession standpoint, just don't look the same as they have in the last couple runs. Like, I'm gonna compare it to 23. In 23, you got per 100, 39, 17, and 12 on 63% true shooting.
39, 17, and 12
per 100. Yeah, per 100. And right now it's 32, 12, and 13, 58.5% true shooting.
Yeah.
So it's like still best player in the world type of play, but it's a level below what you probably need to get out of this series against a team that just has more offensive weapons.
Yeah.
And like you said, I do think there are instances where Jokic is kind of like forcing the pass to the dunker. Like trying to big brain it, where it's like, I'm going to look off the shooter and dump it into the dunker. But the Clippers have said, no, we're just going to play the dunker every time. You can make that pass to the shooter. We won't react to you doing the look away thing. And there were a couple turnovers where he kind of just threw it right into the lane because those defenders didn't care about the pass to the shooter. And I do wonder if, like, Nuggets try and get more threes up as a result. Because in some of those lineups, man, like, for example, the starting and closing five, or I guess they didn't close. They've been closing with Westbrook the last 2 games, I think, but their starting lineup at least. Like, which of those guys do you feel bad about getting an open 3 in the half quarter? Like Christian Brown.
Clippers?
No, from the nut. Like Christian Brown and Aaron Gordon are both perfectly reliable shooters at this point, I feel like.
Yeah.
And then it's like you don't leave Jamal, you don't leave MPJ. So I feel like just they might try and hunt for more threes during those minutes. I don't know.
Yeah, especially like on like catch and shoot opportunities.
Yeah.
They've taken 50, so they've taken 45 catch and shoot threes through the first 2 games. They've shot 35% on those catch and shoot threes. And I mean, to their credit, at least, like most of their jump shots have been catch and shoot looks. So,
yeah.
I don't know. Do you feel any the wrap the Clippers Nuggets series up? Do you feel any differently heading in to Game 3 than you did before the series started?
I feel differently about the way the series has turned out, and like I said, it's been a lot more defense focused than I thought it would be. But in terms of like prediction wise, I still feel like Clippers in 6 is a pretty decent pick after what we've seen through 2 games. What do you think?
I'm still kind of rolling with Clippers in 6. I think Denver. I do think Denver has the edge in terms of. I think it's a good thing if you are the team that now gets to adjust back. I think you have the advantage at that point because I think there's some tactical stuff they can do offensively. I like the idea of them like upping their 3-point volume and kind of forcing the Clippers to like make a decision on how much are we going to overreact on the 3. Although, how many of those guys like legitimately? Okay, I think Jamal can successfully attack a closeout. I think some of those guys I'm almost daring though, honestly.
You're saying daring to attack a closeout?
To like successfully attack a closeout and go right back into our shell defense.
Yeah. Because I feel like all of them can beat the first line. Yeah. But it's like the decision making after that. Specifically, I'm thinking about Brown and MPJ.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do after you beat that first line of defense? Because both those guys have a tendency to just kind of launch themselves into tough shots.
Yeah.
That's tough. That is tough. I don't know.
I think they could do some stuff with Kawhi or whatever. That just popped into my head. But I like the idea about them upping their volume. I think they could do some stuff that give Jokic even some easier looks in the post and some things of that nature. But I don't know. It's been easily the best series so far.
I agree. You said Luka. You had a little Freudian slip. So we'll move on to Lakers-Wolves. Game 2's tonight. So whatever we say here is going to age absolutely horrendously. By the time people are listening to this, but how did you feel? Like, what was your initial reaction to Game 1?
You want my honest to God answer?
Yep. Honest.
All right. I went to our high school football coach that coaches at the school that I coach at, obviously, and we were talking about the game, and the first thing I said was, "This is legit the first time in my life that I've said, damn, Braun looks old." And I want to start there because, oh, God, Braun's going to drop 40, and I'm going to look like a real idiot. No, all seriousness. I think Rudy Gobert, in terms of what he's good at and what he's not good at or like where his strengths and weaknesses are defensively, I think everybody obviously knows he's like a elite, one of the best rim protectors of all time. I think everything after that is where there's some confusion on where he's great at or where potential weaknesses are at. He is a perfectly fine isolation defender.
Yes.
And I would prefer if the Lakers would stop switch hunting Rudy Gobert with LeBron. Because all it devolved into was LeBron shooting contested fadeaway jumpers from the mid-range where, like, if you're the Timberwolves, you just live with those.
Yeah.
And him getting blocked at the rim by Rudy because LeBron can't consistently explode by bigs anymore. Like, LeBron's version of switch hunting at 40 years old is, all right, the jumper has to be falling because I now do FU3 or whatever, and, you know, the gimmicky shit. Like, that's kind of Braun's switch hunting at this point.
I'd like to point out, too, the same applied to Reeves in Game 1. The few times he got Gobert, it was just smothered jumpers. And it's like the Wolves want that because look at what they're getting on the other end. Open three, open three,
right.
Open three. You go ahead and take your middies. Like, you go ahead and take your smothered jumpers. The only one I want to see consistently isolating Gobert switches is Luka. That's
Luka.
the only one. That's the only one.
Now, with the LeBron switch hunting or whatever, that's cool. But, okay, try to get the guards. I much prefer LeBron at this point as a play finisher or, like, high post-up initiator than this ISO spread pick and roll creator for 48 minutes. In the fourth quarter, if he has it rolling, okay, cool. We can go LeBron spread pick and roll like it's 2018. But quarters 1 through 3 and, hell, even the fourth quarter, to be honest with you, much rather prefer using him as a screener, letting him operate, especially like I feel like, and Laker fans have complained about this, I feel like we have not seen Luka Braun PNRs as much as we honestly should have or should be saying it, considering a Luka Doncic ball screen is going to create so much havoc just off the strength of it being Luka. And then you have arguably one of the smartest human beings who ever play basketball and one of the best playmakers to ever play basketball to operate with a numbers advantage. Yeah. Like, stuff like that, or letting him operate in the post against a smaller matchup. I don't think they did a good job at, like, preparing for Minnesota's switches or Minnesota's, like, soft hedging with Conley, where the Lakers would just try to, like, force the switch for a good solid 10 seconds and then just get absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, Minnesota hit 21 threes. So,
yeah.
That's really game one.
I mean, if you go Luka LeBron pick and roll, the Wolves are obviously going to switch. Like, I feel like that's kind of obvious to me. Just because, like you said, you don't want LeBron rolling into that numbers advantage, especially if it's the 5-out lineup, because now your entire defense is compromised. But why don't they, like, I'm just thinking, like, in my head, take a page out of the Wolves book, have LeBron just do, like, a pin-in screen. What do you do if you're the Wolves and LeBron is just rolling into an advantage with a switch every single play? Like, there's nothing you can do.
So JJ kind of had a rant talking about, because obviously Laker fan base has the organized offense crew. And shout Tim. And JJ, I'm not even going to disagree necessarily because I kind of see where he's coming from. His whole thing with organized offense is, you know, making sure our spacing is correct and our flow or whatever and yada yada. Okay, cool. Then have your set attacks better. Okay, you want to say you guys were organized or whatever, or you need to be organized better, sure. But have your set attacks more lined up, because that's how Minnesota basically got whatever they wanted from a set attack standpoint and be able to manipulate the Lakers defensively. Like, okay, with the Lakers' heavy help, they were also able to flatten the Lakers out at times as well. Have everybody in the baseline, and now there is no help.
And that was like the big adjustment I highlighted in my video. Like halfway through the first quarter, they just emptied the wings. And now it's like, what do you do against an ant isolation, Austin Reeves on an island, no nail help? It's like you either give up a layup or a corner three pretty much every single time. Yeah. And so my big takeaway on the defensive side, my first thing was I think you have to switch less. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means you drop against Ant. I don't know if that means you trap him right as soon as he crosses half court. I just don't think you can let him get Reeves or Luka on an island over and over again. That's just like, I say switch everything except for Ant and Randall actions, because you also don't want Randall posting up Reeves and getting a double with 4 shooters. Because that was their non-Edwards offense. It was, we're going to get Randall a switch. We're going to post him up on an empty side. And it wasn't even always a switch. You highlighted a play where he had LeBron and Vando randomly leaves Naz Reid for whatever reason. And, like, yes, the Wolves aren't going to shoot 50% from 3 again. But if you give a team with 4 40% three-point shooters in a lineup 35 open threes, you're not going to see good results. You know what I mean? I feel like... And I guess that's kind of my takeaway, too, is, like, the Lakers' offense feels fixable and problematic. But my takeaway was, like, they just had nothing for the Wolves' offense. Like, the Wolves got whatever they wanted. Like, they started off the game slow. They had 7 points throughout the first 6.5 minutes. And then after that point, they just got whatever they wanted every possession, it felt like. And that, to me, was the problem. I also want to go back. I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but... their defense against the Wolves' defense against the pick and pop with like Rui or DFS was absolutely phenomenal. Having Rudy like almost high drop into a switch. Then if Luka backed out, you go like late switch to get McDaniels back on him for the ISO. That execution was absolutely phenomenal. And I just want to say, like, shout out to Jaden McDaniels, because he to me was the best player on the court in that game on both ends. Like, Jaden McDaniels played a phenomenal game of basketball just across the board, did literally everything well. But yeah, going back to the side of the Lakers defense, I think I after my rewatch, and this was in my video, I had 7 key potential fixes, and I want you to let me know what you agree and disagree with here. From what you saw, I think my first one, like I said, was less switching. I think just specifically against Edwards and Randall, don't let them just get the like if you have to switch, okay, but don't soft switch everything and just give them the matchup they want, because they're just walking up the court, brush screen. All right, I got my matchup. Let's clear out. Let's play. That's too easy. I think slightly less aggressive gap help if they do get those like empty wing isolations. I think at that point I'd rather just see a hard double, because like I said, there's no one on the Lakers that can consistently stay in front of Edwards in a straight line. So then if you bring that aggressive gap help, it's coming from the strong side. It's coming from one pass away, and that's how you get corner 3 for Naj Reid, corner 3 for Alexander Walker, corner 3 for DiVincenzo. Too easy. I think the third one, and we talked about this off camera, so I know you agree here, single coverage versus Randall post-ups as long as he doesn't have a guard. If it is Luka, LeBron, Rui, DFS, or Vando, or even Jackson Hayes, make him
basically, unless it's Reeves or Gabe. If it's
Exactly.
Reeves or Gabe, then you have to like show aggressive help. Otherwise, because Lakers are only going to play a real 8-man rotation. Like
Right.
the other 6 guys, literally you just have to play that single coverage.
Right, and Randall's going to get some post buckets. He's a mismatch, but make that be where the Wolves have to turn to, because he's going to miss some shots. He's going to turn the ball over a few times, as opposed
He had
to
some outrageous turnovers.
He did. He had 7. He had 7 turnovers, and the first one where he just whipped it into the third row was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I think if you're just gonna let him post up, draw a double, and hit a 40% shooter, you better hope they're missing. You better pray. Like, that's the only thing you can do at that point. My next 3 keys were actual just like execution errors, not adjustments. I think don't help from one pass away. There were so many times where both Rui and Luka just ran, like, we're just sitting in no man's land, and corner 3s happened. Like, you cannot help from one pass away. That just, the entire Lakers defensive premise is bring help from the weak side. So what are you doing sitting in a no man's land one pass away?
I'm grabbing my board.
The other one, this one was bad. This one was bad. Don't jump at ball fakes. How many times did they jump at shooters for no reason? Like, it almost looked like it was intentional. It was like, every time you see a shot fake, jump, because we don't want them to shoot. There was like 6 possessions in the second quarter alone where they jumped at a shooter on a closeout and let them get a easy run in on a closeout. It was ridiculous. The other one is, and I guess this kind of relates to the offensive execution if it's better. This probably isn't as much of a problem, but get back in transition, because the Wolves got so many easy runouts where the Lakers either were just lazy getting back or gambling, like taking bad gambles to where now you're running into the front court with a 5-on-4 advantage. You're getting easy points. I think they led all game ones with 25 fast break points, which is just crazy. You cannot let them get 25 fast break points. My 7th and final potential adjustment defensively is you got to find a way to get more Jackson Hayes minutes, because
Thank you.
if he's not on the court, you have no vertical presence whatsoever. And Jaden McDaniels said it in the post-game interview. What did he say? He was like, yeah, I realized if they don't have Jackson Hayes in the game, I'm basically the biggest one on the court, so I can kind of just like walk in and take layups. it's like, and then that's exactly what happened.
Well, really quickly, with the whole like Jaden McDaniels thing, pretty sure Vando has never been able to successfully score 25 points in his life. So for the Laker fans to try to, for the Laker fans, love you guys, but for you guys trying to gaslight me into saying that Jaden McDaniels and Vando were the same player, that was nasty. I do not understand for the life of me why JJ Redick hates Jackson Hayes. And I'm not saying Jackson Hayes needs to be a 20 and 25 minute per night center. No, not even saying that. I think in a perfect world, if you could give him 10 minutes a game, that'd be fantastic. I'm like, can you imagine if the Nuggets had Jackson Hayes as their second big? Or hell, the Clippers, if they had Jackson Hayes as their second big.
Yeah.
He'd be feeling great right now. But legitimately, and lineup data after one game is kind of a wash anyway.
Yeah.
But, like, I thought his first stint, or his first two, I think he had a second stint in the first half. His first half, which was, granted, all but 6 minutes, was, like, objectively fine. He affected 2 Anthony Edwards shots at the rim. He tried to keep, like, at least 4 balls alive on the offensive glass and secured 2 of them. He's somebody that can battle with Rudy on the defensive glass. And then this was actually kind of where my mind was at. We've had this conversation about the Lakers, like, kind of lone defensive superpower is their ability to rotate and kind of scramble. I'm with you, specifically with it's been one of my biggest pet peeves all year. I think the soft switching is fine until it isn't. I think one of the Lakers' superpowers, and this is also to a certain extent one of Jackson Hayes' superpowers, Lakers team defense is the rotating and the ability to just scramble. What do you think about the Lakers just hedging more and just putting to one, specifically when we are hunting Luka mismatches, for example? Just hedge more, and if we have to rotate, we're going to have to rotate regardless, because if we're switching, we just get cooked in a lane line drive. We're rotating regardless. Just hedge, put 2 on the ball, and at least hopefully force a pickup in a perfect world. But we'll just load over like we're supposed to be loading over. I don't know. I feel like hedging just feels like a natural solution where we are not soft switching and conceding the switch. And then if it comes to like a situation where you said where, all right, if we have to switch, fine. That's what it would turn into anyway. Where if it's, okay, we have no choice but to switch here, fine, let's just switch. And you're already loaded up anyway. I like the idea of the hard doubles as well when they start to flatten you out. Because, yeah, like the heavy gap help and they just flatten out the wings just does nothing for you.
It does.
You're better off just doubling pretty early.
Because my biggest problem with because we kind of talked about this in our previews before the playoffs for both episodes. We both kind of talked about probably the biggest weakness with this Wolves team is like connective decision making and passing. Like, can they play off of the advantage? And the Lakers' defensive game plan was basically in game 1. It was, we're not going to make those guys make any decisions at all. We're just going to let them slide up and shoot.
Your decision is catch it, shoot an open three, or drive to an open rim because there's nobody over 6'9" on the floor.
And I'd argue the Wolves' biggest strength is the fact that they can put out lineups with 4 40% shooters.
Yeah.
Like, they have so much shooting to go around. Like, they didn't even go deep into their bench at all to get more shooting. Like, they just played their normal rotation. It was all shooters.
Yeah.
I think, I kind of with you. I'm with you with the hedges because now you force Edwards. Like, Edwards has improved as a playmaker. Don't get me wrong. But do you know how easy it is to make those drive and kick reads when you know exactly where the help's going to come from every time? Like, it was, you flatten out the baseline. If you want to bring nail help, the dunker, whoever's in the dunker is going to step up to the free throw line, and then the low man's going to slide down to the dunker. So as soon as I beat my man, there's nobody guarding the left corner. Simple hook pass, wide open 3. And it's like if you just let Edwards do that over and over and over again, you get 9 assists. That's what happens. And it's like if you force Edwards to make tough reads against the hedge, I think that makes things tougher on him. You probably get a couple more turnovers in there. But then it's like, who was like Luka matched up with for most of the game? I can't remember. Like who was? Actually, it was Edwards. It was Edwards, but like initially. Was it like Alexander Walker? Maybe.
I thought we were talking about with the starting group. Let me see.
Okay, yeah. Let's assume starting group. Let's take Jackson Hayes out though, because he doesn't even exist apparently. The normal.
Trippett, or was it J-Mac?
It might have been. My memory is like failing me.
Because Braun on Randall.
Yeah. Who was on Gobert? It was DFS, I think. DFS was on Gobert.
Yeah. And then
Rui might have been on Jaden.
Then Luka on Conley, Reeves on Ant. That kind of sounds right.
Reeves on Ant is nasty, bro.
Yeah. Well,
Reeves on Ant is nasty. Oh my gosh, dude. But yeah, so maybe I don't even know, but let's assume Luka's guarding Alexander Walker just for the sake of this exercise.
Okay.
If Alexander Walker's setting a screen, would you rather let Edwards get the switch that he wants, or would you rather say, hey, Alexander Walker, you make a play against our rotating defense?
Yeah.
It seems like a super easy decision to me.
When literally, like I said, our superpower is our ability to rotate. And again, it's Anthony Edwards attacking Luka in space, or it's like role player that I like, but role player attacking a scrambling defense.
Yeah.
Like,
I think, okay, so let me ask you this, though. What do you think the adjustment is? Well, I guess actually it doesn't matter if you're not switching. But say the Lakers do continue to soft switch. What is your counter to the north to south pin-in screens? Because there was one play specifically I'm thinking about where Randall rolled into
see if I can find it.
He rolled into a 2-on-1. It was the third quarter. The score was 70-51.
I love how specific that was.
Dude, I got like photographic memory that expires after 3 days. But Randall,
he's like if Braun wasn't good at his job.
Randall sets a north to south screen, rolls into a 2-on-1, and I want to say it's
led to a 3. I'm assuming.
No, it was him in the short roll, and then it was, I think, DFS stepping up to protect the rim, and then Gobert in the dunker, and it's just a lob, the most easy lob like I've ever seen in my life. And I just don't know what you do. What do you do against that?
I don't know.
Like
why
if you're soft switching.
You said it led to a Rudy.
It was a Rudy lob. Yeah, it was actually. It might have been Rudy's only basket of the whole game.
Oh, that would have made my job way easier.
I'm pretty sure he only had 2 points, right? Didn't he only have 2 points?
Hold on.
But it was the most basic, like, it looked unguardable, but it was so simple. And I just don't know what to do. I guess that's a situation where you need Jackson Hayes because you have no vertical presence to stop the lob. But then it's like if they brought someone in from the weak side, now it's an easy skip pass to, I don't even know who was in the corner.
He just, you know what's so frustrating about watching this? About watching this possession? Is like ironically straight from the Lakers playbook last season. And that's so annoying. Like you have this like rip screen from Conley to Jay McDaniels to like force a switch.
Yep.
Which most teams want to switch that. So now it's Luka on Conley, Braun guarding Randall. It's getting denied in the effing corner on the opposite side of the floor. And Randall just sets a step-up screen on Luka's back, which, again, forces the switch. Yep. And Braun steps up, hits the short pocket. Rui steps up. Yeah, this is just...
And it's just, like, the most, like... Honestly, can I just, like, give a round of applause for... Chris Finch coached a masterclass, man. Like, the adjustments they made to their offense and the way they executed defensively against pick and pop, ball screens, 5 out, like, everything, isolations, the late switching, the scram switching, like... I didn't know if he had it in him, but, like, he manipulated the floor on both ends. And maybe it's someone in the staff. Maybe it isn't just Chris Finch. I always just lean to the head coach because they're the ones actually implementing the decisions. But, man, the Wolves I just feel like they out-executed the Lakers start to finish in this game.
So the question was, like, what's the adjustment to this? I think it's, like, the hedging, honestly.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like,
and
you just can't switch that.
I'm not helping from the baseline. Because how the play is set up, like, even if we did hedge, because that's kind of what it would turn into anyway, with Randall getting the short roll and gets to play out of the advantage, the dunker guy steps up, and then you just get that scenario where Rudy gets a lob. That scenario doesn't change. If you help from the nail, and okay, so in this possession, Dorian Finney-Smith's guarding Ant, like I said, practically hugging him. Yeah. If he stops the ball at the nail, Austin just gets to play 2, and we get to scramble out of that.
Yeah.
Whereas if the help comes from the dunker, which it does come from the dunker, Rui steps up. It does his job. It doesn't matter if Austin bumps down. That literally doesn't matter because it's Rudy Gobert. Although you maybe make an argument that you want to just put somebody in front of Rudy. I would just counter that and say that, okay, he's 7 foot. I'm going to count that as a bucket, and if he misses, shame on him. So keep Rui attached to Rudy Gobert. Slide Dorian, even though it's Ant, slide Dorian Finney-Smith all the way over to stop the drive, and then Austin has to play 2.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, again, you're going back to the point that the Lakers' superpower as a defense is their ability to rotate. And we just watched a whole game where the Wolves implemented an offensive game plan that made it so the Lakers can't rotate out of anything. They just give up one attack and then a spot up 3. And that's basically what the Wolves did the entire game. And it just did not. You can't. I just think. I think the Lakers have a lot to figure out. And by the time maybe we're missing something that's going to be implemented in game 2. And like I said, we're just going to miss the mark. Also, there's a very good chance that the feel-out game was a real thing from LeBron, and he makes you look very, very questionable with, like you said, a 40-point performance.
Straight ISO buckets, cooking Rudy in space, and get it to the rim, having 2014 Bron rim pressure numbers.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So, the tough question. How do you feel like the series is going to shake up now? Do you feel any differently? I mean, well, you had Lakers in 5, right? You still feeling good about that?
I'm sorry. I think my my link in my audio kind of cut out there for a sec. I'm sorry. I can't hear you. I think I'm leaning more Lakers in 7.
Okay, that's kind of where I'm at. I had Lakers in 6, and now I'm kind of leaning Lakers in 7. I don't know, because there's like a part of me that like I don't know. It's tough because I'm almost like. There's a part of me that wants to lean the Wolves in the series now after what we saw, but there's also a part of me that's like, I don't want to overreact to one game.
Yeah.
And be like, oh, Wolves are going to win the series now. And then I just end up, like, my initial prediction ends up being more correct. So maybe I'm just biased towards my initial prediction.
Yeah.
But I'm still very marginally leaning late. I mean, Wolves have home court advantage now, though. And that's pretty big.
I don't think that matters. You picked Lakers in 6 anyway.
I did. Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. But I'm gonna go Lakers in 7 for now, I think.
Yeah.
But it's very possible that game 2 happens and the Lakers win, and then I still feel more confident in the Wolves. I mean, if the Wolves win game 2, that's a different story. That's a very different story. But I'm waiting to see. Because, like, did you see the tweet that came out about LeBron's record after losing game 1?
I have not seen the tweet, although I'm sure it's insane.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane. So I'm almost like, okay, I don't want to overreact to one game. But, yeah, I feel like the Lakers can make some tweaks, and I feel like that was probably the worst of both LeBron and Reeves in the same game.
Pretty comfortably.
Yeah, so I think we'll see a better performance in game 2, and then moving forward. One more Western Conference series we've got to talk about. The Warriors and the Rockets. This is the one that I think, wasn't this number 1 on both of our rankings for like the series we're most excited for in the first round? I mean, Steph Curry fulfilled my excitement in game 1 with like one of the greatest shot making displays I've ever seen. The shot chart doesn't do it justice. If you just go back and look at the like body angles he was at when releasing these shots, and then like the situations where it's like every time the Rockets started to get some momentum, here comes
3 when they're only up 4 in the 4th.
Yeah, dude. Are you talking about the one off the inbound from like almost half court?
And like his body when he shot, I swear, like one leg's forward, the other one's back. Yeah. He's like turning his body.
Yeah.
I want to say this to start. Shout out Alfred Sengun.
He hooped.
He's a hooper. And for his first bucket in the playoff series to be just putting one of the all-time best defensive players on a poster, shout out to him. And I honestly hope that he comes out of this series and gets a little more credit, especially defensively. I know that's something you've been talking about a lot all season long. I thought he had a really good defensive game.
He's just a good defender at this point. And I feel like he gets looped into that like Jokic Sabonis group where it's like these big playmaking centers who were weak defensively, because Sengun was a weak defender coming into the league, but now he's clearly just separated himself from that class, in my opinion. Yeah. I mean, I don't even think Sabonis is a bad defender either, but like that's just kind of a reputation thing. Sengun is just a legitimately good defensive player, in my opinion, and a lot of what the Rockets are able to do schematically revolves around Şengün's ability to play at the level, what he does on the glass, even like somewhat of a vertical presence at the rim, with like the two-handed contests that he likes to do. Yeah, I think Şengün, pretty good defense, and he just had a big game. The Rockets offense, specifically the half-court offense, I think they scored they had like a 66 offensive rating in the half-court.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Something like that. And lots of problems, man. Jalen Green had no answer for their isolation coverages. What they did was super simple. It was like the Rockets' game plan was clearly to hunt for Steph. There were 16 shots taken with Steph as the primary defender in this game, and they went 4 of 16. Steph held players to 25% shooting as the primary defender. And it wasn't like I saw some people using that stat to say like Steph played an elite defensive game. And shout out to Steph because he's been an underrated defender for pretty much his whole career. Just because he's small.
Like the better half of the last decade.
Yeah, like since he's put on the strength, like that 2022 run, just a good defender in my opinion. But like, yeah, he played good defensively last night. But most of it was every single time there was a switch on to Steph, Draymond is just abandoning his man. And what he was doing is every time you'll see it on the film, he's immediately stepping over and then waving for whoever's behind him to then take Şengün because they just wanted to just shift one pass down every time. And because they know Jalen Green's not going to consistently make that corner-to-corner skip pass or whatever. And then Jimmy was just parked at the nail. And Jimmy is just might be the best nail defender ever. Like, even at this age, it's insane the way he's able to just plug driving gaps and then recover to take away the kick-out pass, get back on closeouts. Like, Jimmy's a freak. So when you have Jimmy and Draymond just roaming all over the court causing havoc, Jalen Green, decision-making wise, has zero chance of doing anything against that. And so time and time again, you see him just like trying to isolate, running into walls of defenders, and then just taking really weird shots. He ends up shooting 3 for 15, 7 points, 2 assists, created maybe one advantage the whole night. Just like not even trying to be offensive. It's just very bad playoff debut. And it's because
your hair looks stupid, not trying to be offensive.
I don't even think it's because like, I don't even know if it's a Jalen Green. I mean, obviously there's some Jalen Green issues, but the Warriors are just a really freaking good defense, dude.
Yeah.
Like they're just, and especially Draymond looks ridiculous right now. Same with Van Vliet. Van Vliet shot 4 of 19, I believe. So now you have your two go-to half-court perimeter creators combining for 7 of 34 from the field. That is just, it's unacceptable. And I think Van Vliet, some of that was missing shots that he can make. So I think that's the worst performance you're going to see out of him. But even then, like there were a couple times he tried to hunt for the Steph isolation switch. Doesn't work because he's just not that type of isolation creator. Out of pick and roll, Draymond was deep drop pretty much every time. And it's like, Van Vliet, you're going to have to show us that you can beat me and force me to step up to the level. Those guys are like your primary half-court perimeter creation. And I think the reason the Warriors are able to get away with this aggressive style of help is it's a personnel issue. The Rockets just don't have the shooting. Just don't have the shoot. Like, they're running lineups where it's Eason, Amen, and Şengün. Like, they'll give Eason the corner 3. They'll let him take that every time. Amen's mostly playing on the baseline. They're going to roam from the dunker. Şengün, they're like, you can take those shots. We just don't want you getting to the rim or getting on the offensive glass. And yeah, I think there are, again, just like the Lakers, I think I came up with 5 potential fixes. So let me know if you agree or disagree with any of these. I think number 1 is less isolation. Hunting for Steph is not an advantage. Do not try to isolate him.
Can you guess how many isolation possessions how many isolation possessions, including pass outs, we'll go including pass outs, that Houston had in game 1?
Do I even want to know?
Well, you know what? We'll take all pass outs. So all isolation scoring possessions, not including pass outs. It's a lot.
Is it like 15?
Higher.
20?
Well, 1 off, so you're really good. 19 isolation scoring possessions in game 1.
What about including passes? What is it?
Including pass outs, 23.
Okay.
Oh, wait. 22.
Can I just say for reference, people might not understand how absurd that is. That's like 2019 Rockets isolation volume with James Harden. That's like James Harden. So yeah, I'm glad you pulled up the number because I lost access to Synergy since the recent, so I don't have isolation numbers anymore. So Sean's my stat guy. Less isolation was my number 1 takeaway. My number 2 takeaway was more touches for Amen Thompson as a point guard, because if they're just going to put Jimmy on him and let him just abandon Amen on the baseline or at the nail or whatever, the only way to counteract that is to put Amen on the ball, because then you can use Jalen as a spacer. Because if Jalen's not going to create advantages, there's no point to have him on the ball. So get him off the ball where at least he's going to be defended like a shooter, right? And then you get on men. There was one possession in particular where they did it on men and Şengün, or it was either Şengün or Adams, pick and roll with a men on the ball. And the three spacers were Dylan Brooks, Van Vliet, and Jalen Green. So he gets to the rim, kicks it out to Fred, wide open three, knocks it down. I think that's got to be, you got to go to Amen more as a guard. I think you need that type of spacing because then you can force tougher decisions on the rest of the defense. My third one, and this was kind of like a wild card. Like I kind of put it as a question mark on my list. More Aaron Holiday minutes, maybe. Like he wasn't in the rotation. He's the only guy that I think in their rotation gives you, besides Van Vliet, I think, and maybe Jabari on a hot night, Dylan Brooks obviously, but like you get the point of attack defense and you also get the shooting. He's been around a 40% shooter for like 3 or 4 years in a row.
Yeah.
And I just think like you have to find ways to get more shooting on the court if you're going to face a defense that's like just zoning up the ball on every single
I thought you were going to
touch.
say Reed Sheppard minutes.
The only reason I went with Holiday over Shepherd is because I think Holiday is just
Defense.
more. It's the defense. It's the on-ball defense.
Yeah.
And also like there is something to be said about veteran experience.
Yeah.
In a play, especially against Golden State. My fourth takeaway: more post-ups for Şengün. One of their kind of adjustments was in this game was when the space was taken away for the isolations and the pick and rolls. They started to try to run through Şengün up top and like delay stuff and a little bit of that, or Şengün in the middle of the floor. And the Warriors just switched everything. And then what ended up happening is Şengün just isolated Draymond from the middle of the floor in a face-up like 8 times. And I don't think that's sustainable. Like Draymond's low center of gravity and his agility, you cannot try to play him downhill. But if you get your back to the basket on an empty side, I think then Şengün can really use his size to kind of bully Draymond, get to his spots, and maybe force Draymond into some foul trouble. I think is like one of the keys. And then my fifth one, and this is the biggest one. This is the necessity. Kind of relates to what we were just talking about with the Lakers. You have to find a way to get Steven Adams on the court more because the attention he demands as an offensive rebounder completely breaks what the Warriors want to do help-wise. Like when he was on the court, Draymond couldn't help without giving up an offensive rebound. And if you can just like either force Draymond to not help or force Draymond to switch matchups and force them to get like post on the court for Adams or Looney, that's a win. That's a win. So I don't know if it's more double big. I don't know if it's just more minutes for Adams or whatever. I think that's the necessity. More minutes for Steven Adams. What do you think?
So really quickly, there's 2 big points I want to touch on. One with the post-up stuff, absolutely agree. Şengün only had 2 post-up scoring possessions in all of Game 1.
It was a point. It was a point and then a foul drawn. I think. Yeah.
Yep. It was. Yep. Those were the 2. Those were the 2 for Şengün. I'm curious what Adams lineup with Şengün looks like, where we like still try to space the floor. I really like the idea.
Did you see the lineup they closed the first quarter with?
I have to go back and look.
Dude, it was Amen, Tari Eason, Jabari Smith, Şengün, and Adams. That lineup is like what? That lineup is freaking huge, dude.
Their best offense, legitimately, in Game 1 was praying we missed.
Yeah.
That was their best offense in Game 1. I thought Golden State actually did a really good job as well of, like, limiting their transition impact.
Yeah.
They were awful. I mean, Houston was awful in Game 1 in transition. Look, I don't want to come off too negative from Houston's side of things because I do really think that, like, metrically this is just an awful offensive performance for Houston. I don't think I'm not a Jalen Green guy, I guess is the way to put it. Even though I did a whole film breakdown on his 2023 March run, and maybe that's why I'm not anymore, or 2024, so last season, and maybe I'm just scarred. But I don't think he's this bad. I don't think he's this bad of an offensive player. Obviously, I think Fred, like you said, missed some shots that. Especially in the fourth. He missed so many shots in the fourth quarter. I'm like, the hell? He makes this against every other team, and it's always some annoyingly, like, big-time 3 that swings the momentum of a game. He finally hit 1 eventually, I think, to cut the lead to 6, and then Golden State went right back down the floor and scored. But I don't think he's going to be that bad. I think if Sengun can consistently like have these types of offensive outputs, I think that can extend the series and keep it to where it's like a 6-7 game series like we both predicted. Because I think what Houston, and the point from both of us heading it was, okay, Houston, we know their half-court offense is atrocious, but they're going to be able to have enough from all these guys combined to where they'll be able to like eke out a couple games and get it to a game 7. That's kind of probably the biggest thing that I'm kind of coming away with saying, I don't know anymore. I think it really is going to be, Sengun, can you be this reliable offensive engine for us and consistently be that 20-point per game scorer, 10 rebound per game player, and having your presence on the glass? And like you said, finding the way to get more Steven Adams and Sengun on the floor. I like the idea of utilizing Jalen Green as a spacer because legitimately that's where his impact should be at this point. But against Golden State especially, where there's nobody he can create an advantage against. And he was a 40% regular season catch-and-shoot three-point guy.
Yeah, and he's really explosive off the catch, so you can get him against closeouts or off of movement or something, as opposed to
you can even do. Go ahead.
No, I was just as opposed to one-on-one, like stand still, no movement. He's not gonna win. He's not gonna win there.
This isn't necessarily in Houston's bag, but like they could totally do like some uphill like grenade dribble handoff stuff with Adams as the initiator and him just sprinting down. And just allowing him to like attack downhill at the rim, like Houston.
They did that with Ja. Like Steven Adams did that with Ja in Memphis. Yeah.
So Houston's tough. They've been this super fun team all year, and if there is like an overreaction after a game 1 that I'm willing to make, it's that I feel even more confident Golden State wins this series.
But let me ask you this though, on the other side of things. Like, what does Golden State's offense look like if Steph doesn't have that ridiculous... Like, dude, they still only got 95 points on the board, and Jimmy and Steph both looked surgical.
Yeah.
And it's like, they might just keep doing that. You never know. But, like, with the type of shot diet Steph had in that game,
you're prone for him to have, like,
a
game, maybe 2 even.
Exactly, where it's, like, just off shooting. And that's kind of been the trend with Steph historically. He has those off shooting games just because of the volatility in his shot diet.
Yeah.
And Golden State's offense, besides those two, like Houston, credit to Houston, their defense really bottled up what Golden State wanted to do, and it was just like superstar power rose above it. But
and that's why I won't go as far as saying like Golden State wins the series in 5 or like it's a landslide, because like you said, Steph's gonna have a game. Might even be. Thank God they don't play tonight or tonight as this recording this. But like, I don't know. I think the firepower is still just gonna be enough from Golden State. Their offense without Steph, though, I'm actually curious what like the Steph's on-off number was after game 1.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Let me pull that up real quick, because I'm actually curious now too. Because Play-by-Play Stats is broken. Shout out Play-by-Play Stats. That is like the greatest website of all time. So I can't pull up the actual offense-defense splits, but pure on-off. Negative 53. There you have it. Steph Curry is a negative player. You've heard it here first. Steph Curry, they would have won by 58 points if Steph Curry just did not play in the game. That's what that means. So after talking it through, I had Warriors in 7. Did you have Warriors in 7 too?
I think I have Warriors in 7.
Okay, I'm going Warriors in 6 now.
I'm also going Warriors in 6. I think just the firepower. There's going to be a game, actually. There will be a game where Houston just completely bottles everything up, and I wouldn't be surprised if they, like, blow Golden State out.
It would be like Game 6 or Game 2 Denver, Minnesota.
Yeah.
Where they got, like, 75 points.
Yeah.
And if you do that, I think bottling up Golden State creates transition opportunities, and that would be, like, the way the Rockets get over 100.
Yeah. That's the way they get. That's the way they scratch 101 on the scoreboard. I think Tyler hates the Rockets, guys. I am not the Rockets hater.
I like the Rockets. And also, can I just say, like, didn't we both say that this was going to be the nastiest series? We were like, this is going to be like, get it out the mud, hoops. And then we both kind of leaned Warriors because Steph and Jimmy can get it out of the mud. Yeah. And then that's exactly what happened. But also shout out to Sengun because he got it out the mud too.
Yeah.
And he looked really good. Man, I think, did you see this? Dude, there was a tweet where it was like, Sengun came into the playoffs looking like a super power. Or like, I don't even remember what it was, but it was basically just a tweet along the lines of like, Sengun was ready for the moment, and then Van Vliet and Jalen were like crying in the corner or something like that. And I was like, damn. But shout out to Sengun, man.
Shout out Sengun.
I do think like maybe the best pathway to a Rockets victory is just like because the Warriors want to start and close games small. I do think maybe by the end of the series they're starting Adams and Şengün together, and they're just like, look, we're just gonna try and overwhelm you with size for all 48 minutes because there was a stretch in the fourth quarter where I want to say the Warriors were up by like 20, and the Rockets got it down to like 4 with the double big lineup. And it was just like creating.
It wasn't even with the double big yet. I think it was straight Adams for a second.
It might have been.
At least the start.
Steven Adams is freaking good, man. Steven Adams is a hooper.
Steven Adams is awesome.
You know what when I was watching that game? You know what my first
takeaway longevity
was?
doesn't get enough credit actually.
It does. Yeah, it's crazy to think he's been in the league since like 2013.
Yeah, like
you know what I was thinking about like when I was watching that game? Is there a more perfect fit in the league for what the Warriors want to do than Steven Adams at the 5? Like, is that not the modern Bogut, Andrew Bogut? Like,
probably
dude, imagine,
better.
Imagine Steven Adams at
the passing, the screening, and then just the offensive rebounding.
Yeah,
alone.
I'd say he's a better offensive player than Bogut, but Bogut's defense was crazy, dude.
Yeah,
Bogut, dude.
I'm thinking
Shout
about
out Andrew Bogut. If you were listening to this, did you think we were about to start doing some Andrew Bogut praise, man? Shout out Andrew Bogut.
Shout out Andrew Bogut.
I love Andrew Bogut. But yeah, Steven Adams in Golden State would be crazy.
That'd be insane.
I would love that. But he's good in Houston too. He needs more minutes. Steven Adams is a starting caliber center on every team in the league. Also, Isaiah Hartenstein's cut from that same mold of like passing defensive rebounding centers, but I Hart takes it to a different level with the fact that he makes 900% of his push shots. But yeah, that's gonna wrap up this episode. We really appreciate you guys tuning in to hear our thoughts on the first game or two of the Western Conference first round. Make sure you follow us on social media. He's on Twitter at Sean_DAVI. He's on Instagram at Sean_Davis23. You can find him on YouTube at the Los Angeles Lakers Network or the Sports Headline Show. Of course, my stuff is all under at Tyler Britton on all platforms, and then my content, my actual basketball content, Hoop Venue on all platforms. We will be right back here tomorrow with some breakdowns of the Eastern Conference. And until then, let us know down in the comments what you think's going on in the West and if your predictions have changed at all. See ya.